There was a time when Jessica Simpson was everywhere. Reality TV royalty, tabloid catnip, pop princess, fashion mogul, and the walking punchline to 1,000 late-night jokes. She was rich, famous, gorgeous, and publicly unraveling, one tuna can moment at a time. Her rise was glittery, chaotic, and drenched in lip gloss. But her fall? That was messier. Think career flops, savage body shaming, cosmetic experiments gone sideways, and a public image that got away from her faster than a broken high heel on the red carpet. She could sing better than Britney, looked like Barbie dipped in bronzer, and was this close to mainstream superstardom. But somehow, Jessica Simpson ended up being more famous for not knowing if tuna was chicken or fish than for her actual music. So what really happened to Jessica Simpson? How did a girl with pipes like Whitney, the face of a Maxim cover dream, and a billion-dollar fashion line, still end up the butt of every dumb blonde joke in America? And what about those roles she could have nailed, the ones that went to Reese Witherspoon or Cameron Diaz or even Mandy Moore? Why didn't she become a serious actress? Why did Hollywood chew her up and leave her in the clearance aisle of early 2000s nostalgia? Oh, and yes, we're talking about the face. The changing face. The scrutiny, the surgeries, the weight headlines, and the questions nobody in the press dared ask out loud, but everyone whispered behind closed doors. This is the rise, fall, and reinvention of Jessica Simpson. And the Hollywood machine that decided she was never quite enough. And by the end of this video, we'll show you just how close she came to real superstardom, and how one wrong move turned Jessica Simpson into a cautionary tale instead of an icon. Jessica Simpson's story doesn't start with fame, it starts with faith. She was born in Abilene, Texas in 1980, the daughter of a youth pastor and a homemaker. A classic Southern girl with a big voice and even bigger dreams. Like many future pop stars of her generation, she got her start singing in church. The voice was already there, raw, emotional, gospel-soaked. A storm of soul wrapped in a teenage body. At just 12, she auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club, and in a twist of future pop culture irony, she reportedly froze after hearing Christina Aguilera's audition. Christina got in, Jessica didn't. And in that one moment, a blueprint for her career, the voice that should have dominated always being overshadowed by the flashier choice, was set in motion. But Jessica didn't give up. She started singing gospel for a small Christian label. She built a niche following. But by the late 90s, record executives were desperate for the next Britney, and Jessica was rebranded, repackaged, and relaunched as a virginal but sexy alternative. The girl who could belt like Whitney but still wear a promise ring. Her debut album, Sweet Kisses, dropped in 1999. It had all the Y2K sparkle of the moment, slick production, bubblegum beats, and that one monster power ballad, I Wanna Love You Forever, which reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Critics noticed. Her vocals were legit. She could sing circles around Britney and Mandy Moore, but the industry didn't want vocalist Jessica. They wanted blonde Jessica. Sexy but safe Jessica, America's bubble-headed sweetheart. Her management, led by her own father, Joe Simpson, doubled down on the branding. She wasn't going to outdance Britney or outsass Christina, but she could out-promise ring them. Her persona became a bizarre cocktail of spiritual innocence and Abercrombie sexuality. One minute she's talking about saving herself for marriage, the next she's oiled up in short shorts for a music video. The public didn't know what to make of her, and truthfully, neither did she. That confusion only deepened with her second album Irresistible in 2001. The title track was all sultry innuendo, writhing choreography, and breathy vocals buried under heavy production. It wasn't built to showcase her voice, it was built to sell her body. And while the album sold reasonably well, the identity crisis was becoming obvious. Jessica had gone from a singer with pipes to a pop starlet with cleavage, and while that move worked wonders for her photo shoots, it didn't do much for her music legacy. But the next phase of her fame? That was the nuclear bomb, for better and worse. In 2002, Jessica and then-husband Nick Lachey launched Newlyweds, Nick and Jessica, on MTV. It was supposed to be cute, harmless, a real-life look at a pop star couple. Instead, it turned Jessica Simpson into a national punchline. Her chicken of the sea moment, where she genuinely asked if tuna was chicken or fish, went viral before going viral was even a thing. And just like that, her voice didn't matter. Her looks didn't matter. Her talent didn't matter. All that mattered was how dumb she seemed. And that dumb blonde edit? It stuck. She leaned into it for fame, and it worked. But it also erased any remaining chance of being taken seriously in music. She wanted more than a catchy chorus and a cute husband. Jessica Simpson didn't just want to be a pop star, she wanted to be a brand. And in the mid-2000s, that meant one thing: make the leap to Hollywood. Her big acting debut came in the form of The Dukes of Hazzard in 2005, and let's be honest, no one was lining up for her acting chops. What people really came for was Daisy Duke, the tiny shorts, the music video with the sudsy car wash, that body, and it worked. Kind of. The film made money, the single "These Boots Are Made for Walking" was everywhere, and Jessica Simpson became the sex symbol of the moment. But behind the glitter and gloss, the cracks were starting to show. She'd divorced Nick Lachey. Her ditzy but adorable act was starting to wear thin. And her next acting choices? Yikes. She followed Dukes with the 2006 box office catastrophe Employee of the Month, co-starring Dane Cook, back when people still pretended he was funny. Then came Blonde Ambition, which barely hit theaters and was dumped straight DVD in some states. By the time Private Valentine, Blonde and Dangerous rolled around, the headlines basically wrote themselves. Her acting wasn't evolving. Her roles were flat, one-note, and built entirely around how hot she looked in tight clothing. Hollywood wasn't just typecasting her, it was mocking her. Even Eminem jumped in. In his 2006 track, We Made You, he dropped her name with the kind of venom only Slim Shady could deliver. Jessica Simpson, sing the chorus. She wants me to sign her boobs and check the rest of her, for us. It wasn't clever. It wasn't flattering. It was part of a bigger cultural moment where Jessica Simpson had become a punchline, a walking blonde joke. The living embodiment of the early 2000s idea that a woman could either be smart or sexy, but never both. And the sad part, Jessica was smart. She was business savvy. She had instincts. But the industry, and let's be real, the audience too, never gave her the space to be more than a Maxim cover in heels. Her face started changing, slowly, subtly, then not so subtly. Critics whispered about fillers, Botox surgery, even when she denied it. She went from girl next door gorgeous to a face that tabloids gleefully dissected with side-by-side photos and red arrows. Every move she made was scrutinized. Her body, her lips, her clothes, her weight. And every movie she took just reinforced the idea that Jessica Simpson was a beautiful girl who couldn't act and didn't know it. But what if the problem wasn't her? What if it was the roles? Imagine Jessica Simpson in a role with real emotional grit, something like Walk the Line, which made Reese Witherspoon an Oscar winner, or a vulnerable dramedy like Crazy Stupid Love, or even a guest arc on a prestige TV series like Big Little Lies, which reinvented careers. She could have been funny, even subtly so, think The Good Place or Dead to Me. The truth is, she had potential. But she chose the wrong scripts, or maybe the wrong people chose them for her. Either way, Hollywood gave her the short shorts, not the spotlight. And her image? It was no longer in her control. By the late 2000s, Jessica Simpson was no longer an A-lister trying to level up. She was a B-lister clinging to relevance while the press circled like vultures, waiting for the next misstep. And trust us, they didn't have to wait long. By the late 2000s, Jessica Simpson was no longer just famous for her voice, her music, or even her movies. She had become famous for her body. And not in a celebratory, empowering kind of way, but in a dissected, ridiculed, gossip-to-death way that only women in Hollywood ever seem to get dragged through. It all came to a head in 2009, the infamous mom jeans photo. You remember the one. Jessica stepped on stage at a chili cook-off in high-waisted jeans, a simple black tank top, a belt, and some visible weight gain. The crowd cheered, but the tabloids, they pounced like wolves. Jessica packs on the pounds. Is she pregnant or just pudgy? From bombshell to balloon. It was disgusting. It was humiliating. And it was everywhere. In a span of 24 hours, Jessica Simpson went from pop culture staple to national joke. Paparazzi flooded her every move. Bloggers wrote entire think pieces on whether or not her thighs had betrayed her career. Late-night hosts made her body the setup for punchlines. It was relentless. And Jessica fought back. She said the jeans fit fine. She said she felt good. She tried to own it. But how do you fight an avalanche of cruelty with a single Instagram caption? Let's be honest. The world wasn't reacting to the weight gain. It was reacting to the fact that a beautiful woman had dared to look human. And in an industry that demands eternal thinness, youth, and sex appeal, that was unforgivable. This wasn't just tabloid fodder. This was the foundation of an entire narrative that followed Jessica for years. Every red carpet appearance became a body check. Every candid photo sparked new pregnancy rumors. Every public outfit choice came with a wave of side-by-side before and after comparisons. Jessica's actual career had taken a back seat to her weight, and the damage, it stuck. In her 2020 memoir, Open Book, Jessica opened up about years of disordered eating, body dysmorphia, and pressure from industry executives who told her outright that she needed to be thinner to be successful. At one point, she was taking diet pills handed to her by her team. Every single day. She weighed herself constantly. She felt like her body didn't belong to her anymore. And in many ways, it didn't. Let's also talk about the face, because the scrutiny wasn't just about the scale. Over time, fans began noticing shifts in Jessica's appearance. A little more plump here, a little less movement there. Suddenly, people were speculating about fillers, Botox, even surgical tweaks. And in true tabloid form, the headlines followed. Jessica's new face, what happened? Unrecognizable? Fans react to Jessica's new look. Too much filler or just bad lighting? What made it worse was that she often denied any extreme procedures, or, in her own words, said she simply made choices that didn't age well. She admitted to lip fillers that she hated and eventually dissolved. She admitted to struggling with body image for years. But still, the media machine turned her changing looks into a cautionary tale. And let's not pretend this happened in a vacuum. Jessica Simpson was a product of an era that punished women for aging, for gaining weight, for looking different than the airbrushed images plastered on every magazine. She was built up as the blonde bombshell, the sex symbol, the girl next door with $1 million smile, and the second she stepped an inch outside that box, the press made it their mission to destroy her. And the public? We watched, we laughed, we clicked, because the culture of the time thrived on female downfall. The same way we tore down Britney, Lindsay, Paris, we turned on Jessica. It's not that she suddenly lost her talent. It's that the world decided she wasn't hot enough to matter anymore. And that's the tragedy of Jessica Simpson in the late 2000s and early 2010s. While men in her orbit, like Nick Lachey, Dane Cook, or even John Mayer, carried on with their careers relatively untouched, Jessica was fighting for her dignity in a world that had already written her off. They said she was too dumb, too curvy, too fake, too Jessica. And even when she tried to step back into the spotlight to rebrand or reinvent, the headlines followed. Her every move was filtered through a lens of scrutiny that no male star in her position would ever face. But here's the twist. beneath the surface of all that judgment and humiliation. Jessica Simpson was quietly doing something nobody expected. She was about to turn that scrutiny into a billion-dollar empire. But before we get to that, let's not forget just how far she'd fallen in the public eye, and how deep the damage ran. Because the body headlines weren't just a phase. They were a trap, and Jessica Simpson got caught in it for far longer than she ever deserved. While the press zoomed in on every pound she gained or lost, Jessica Simpson was making money moves, serious ones. She wasn't headlining films, she wasn't topping the charts, but behind the scenes, she was building a fashion empire so massive, it left her pop rivals choking on rhinestone dust. In 2005, Jessica launched the Jessica Simpson collection. Shoes, handbags, jeans, fragrances, lingerie. It wasn't high fashion. It was mall fashion. Relatable, affordable, girly, and everywhere. By 2010, it was raking in $750 million per year. And by 2014, it hit $1 billion in total retail sales. $1 billion. Now here's where it gets tricky. That billion-dollar number, it wasn't Jessica's personal payday. She didn't pocket the billion. She licensed her name and got a cut, about 1 to 1.5% of gross sales. Still, that meant she was earning around $10 to $13 million a year, on name recognition alone. Her current net worth, estimated at $200 million. Let's pause there, because that number, it's more than just a flex. It's a revelation. Jessica Simpson is worth more than a lot of people you'd assume outranked her. Let's look at the scoreboard. Jessica Simpson, around $200 million. Now here's who she outran. Mandy Moore, around $14 million. Ashley Simpson, her own sister, around $10 million. Hilary Duff, around $25 million. Avril Lavigne, around $60 million. Kelly Clarkson, about $50 million, even with the talk show. Vanessa Hudgens, around $18 million. Michelle Branch, $15 million. Lindsay Lohan, Chaos Queen herself, around $2 million. And even some of the prestige girls like Zooey Deschanel, who hovers around $25 million, got outpaced by a woman once reduced to chicken of the sea jokes. Let that sink in. Jessica Simpson, the Punchline, the tabloid target, the blonde with the bronzer and the bubblegum voice, quietly made more money than most of the teen queens, prestige actresses and Disney darlings of her era. While Hollywood was laughing at her, she was cashing the check. But don't get it twisted, it wasn't luck. In 2021, when the licensing company that held her brand went bankrupt, Jessica didn't walk away. She bought it back. She shelled out millions of her own money to regain control of her brand. She now owns over 60% of it, which means every shoe, handbag, and bottle of perfume sold under her name goes straight into her pocket. That's not a fluke. That's business. But here's the kicker. Even with all that success, Jessica never got the cultural upgrade. No acting reinvention. No musical comeback. No redemption tour. The media still focused on her body, her face, her past, not her business savvy. While male celebrities can crash and burn and still be called genius entrepreneurs for launching a tequila brand, Jessica Simpson built a billion-dollar empire and people still call her ditzy. Because society never really let her evolve. She wasn't allowed to grow. She was allowed to sell, but not succeed. By the early 2010s, Jessica Simpson had faded from the A-list, or rather from whatever tier she was almost in. Her pop career had fizzled. Her acting prospects, cooked. She was rich, sure, but respected, still no. And yet, in true Jessica fashion, she surprised everyone. In 2020, in the middle of a global mess where no one expected anything from her, Jessica released a memoir, open book, and it hit like a martini thrown across a Beverly Hills brunch table. It debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Not because it was fluffy or ghost-written or full of PR polish, but because it was raw, honest, actually good, and just vulnerable enough to feel real. She talked about body image, substance issues, Abuse, fame, sex, failure, loneliness, and that gnawing sense of never being enough. Not smart enough, not thin enough, not serious enough for the industry that built her. Suddenly, people were seeing Jessica Simpson not as a walking reality TV joke, but as a woman who survived a machine that was never designed to let her thrive. And here's the kicker. She was finally getting some respect for a minute, but the comeback didn't stick. There was no critically acclaimed acting role, no reinvention as an indie darling or dark horse Oscar nominee. Hollywood didn't know where to place her. She wasn't edgy enough, wasn't cool enough, wasn't marketable in the new TikTok era. But what if? What if someone had handed Jessica Simpson the right script in 2006? Not Employee of the Month, not Blonde Ambition, but something juicy. What if she'd starred in a gritty southern drama, like Reese Witherspoon in Walk the Line, or a smart romantic indie like 500 Days of Summer, or a true crime miniseries about a woman wrongly accused? Give her a dialect coach, a good director, and time. She had the charisma, the looks, the vulnerability, the it factor. But Hollywood wasn't interested in developing her. They just wanted to cash in on her. And remember when Eminem mocked her in We Made You, comparing her to pop culture rubble alongside Lindsay and Kim K? It wasn't because she was irrelevant. It was because she was everywhere. Mockery is currency in celebrity, and Jessica was still bankable as a punchline. The tragedy? She could have been more than that. She almost was. Instead, she became a cautionary tale, a reminder that in early 2000s Hollywood, you could be beautiful, talented, hardworking, and ambitious, and still get reduced to one reality show catchphrase and a million jokes about your weight. Jessica Simpson deserved better. But she got rich instead, and sometimes that's the only revenge you get. If you made it to the end of this video, you deserve a gold-plated wedge sandal and a bottle of Dessert Beauty roll-on perfume. Let me know in the comments, which forgotten or misunderstood celebrity should we dig into next? And what do you really think happened to Jessica Simpson? Smash that like button if you love the tea. Hit subscribe if you want more messy, fascinating pop culture deep dives, and ring the bell so you never miss a takedown, a comeback, or a scandalous behind-the-scenes story. We'll see you next time. Same time, same sass.